How's it going, Rob?
It's going well, Steve. How are you doing?
Oh, mate, sitting over here, it's good.
Yeah, we're back in the chairs.
I know. It's been a while. It was just you and me, but here we are.
This is true.
We wanted to talk today about something that's been on your mind for a while, right?
Well, yeah, just recently. I mean, because we were sort of figuring out what we should talk about. This is our first recording without a guest for a while, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So yeah, what's been coming up for me is actually this this whole thing about freelance, being a freelancer versus being in full-time employment.
I think that's going to vibe with a lot of people actually listening to the show who wonder themselves whether or not that's a path they want to take, or if it's a path they should have taken when they did, I would have been safer in another job or something.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I was inspired to write a blog, which is up on our website as well, and it was kind of from the perspective of say you're in a job at the moment, your full-time job, and maybe you've been there for a while, or maybe you haven't been there for a while, but you kind of been daydreaming about the fact that, this is not vibing with me anymore. You may be in a stressful situation. You may daydream about following your passions. There's all these things that maybe are coming up as to why you should, as I say, take that leap of faith and sort of jump ship, right? But then there's also the other side of it, the pros and cons. So hopefully with this discussion today, we're gonna sort of nut out the pros versus cons for being a freelancer, but also being in full-time employment, having that stable job, right?
Yeah, and I think it's worthy of a fresh look, because as an adult, you seldom go through the pros and cons of this kind of thing. Maybe the last time you did this was when you were 16 years old and you were in front of your guidance counselor.
Oh no, not these flashback memories again.
And I mean, I know it's basic, but it's like a SWOT analysis: the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or the pros and cons. And it's been really interesting and relevant in your life, because I've seen you go between secured full-time stuff and also exciting freelance jobs, but then also have to ride out the times when there's little work.
Yeah, and what I've discovered with doing a bit of research is that the sort of advantages or disadvantages of being a freelancer and being in full-time employment is kind of universal. They kept popping up, the same things which we'll discuss. But I also think that you talk about being 16 and maybe just leaving school and figuring out what you want to do. The landscape's changed, man. Used to be expected, like in my parents' generation, you stayed at your job for your whole life, right?
And then got a gold watch before retirement.
Yeah, exactly. There was that whole program of, you just get that job and you might seek to look for advancement or promotion within that company. And that was the model, right? The full-time 9 to 5, 40-hour a week, but it's just changed so much now. There are a lot more people that are self-employed. There are a lot more people that have multiple streams of income, and there are a lot more opportunities, I suppose, to be a freelancer and to take work on a sort of contract-by-contract basis. So, what is a freelancer, right? So basically you are self-employed and then you're responsible for finding your work. Yeah. And I've listed a few types of freelancers. I mean, you've got designers, writers, photographers, actors, models. Who would ever want to be an actor or model?
I couldn't speak to being a model myself. I'm sure you could.
Web developer, marketing professional, there's all those subcategories of all these titles, business consultant. I mean, there's every sort of second person I've met who's a freelancer is a consultant. They always consult. They say they have a specific field of expertise and then they specialize, right? Researcher, business developer, videographer, etc., etc., etc.
Sure.
So which one would you like to be, Steve?
Well, I think it's clear that I'd like to be the actor, voice artist.
Voice artist.
Well, that's because that's something that I do, and acting, and I've done some promotion work, and I really wanted to just be a full-time actor all the time.
Yeah.
When I got to the course, the degree that really rang my bell when I was younger, And
Or Saved by the Bell, wasn't that a...
and that's right. And when Will Wallace was here with Blair and Mike, he said success as an actor is often defined as
being employed.
Just being employed.
If you're a working actor.
The journeyman of going from job to job. So success isn't necessarily being famous, but it's just...
No.
To me, it really is, because we choose to live in New Zealand. We've already chosen the wrong country if you want fame, right? But just being here is winning a lottery of a sort, isn't it? We are Kiwis, so we've already won the lifestyle lottery. We can go outside and breathe fresh air, and there's a safety net in this country for people who get in trouble. So we're living in the promised land to an extent. Yeah,
we don't allow people to become too famous here. We don't put them up.
There's another rabbit hole. Let's come back to that. But no, just so speaking to that one, I think I'm also very grateful for the job that I have. Very grateful. I've got a couple of incredible managers that I work with, particularly Dave and Matt, if they ever listen. I know Dave does sometimes, so he might be chuffed to hear this. I think the world of him, because he really gets me, and he allows, because he has a lot of staff under him, I think he allows his staff to be their fullest expression of themselves. And for some of those staff, that's I am this employee and this is what I do and I tick the boxes. And for other staff, he knows that they're a little bit more creative or out there, and he works with each personality well. So when I was thinking about being a freelancer and struggling with the fact that as an actor I didn't have enough work to pay the bills to be the journeyman that just meant I could have a mortgage or whatever, I had to turn to a job. And the problem with the whole job thing was I thought I would really just hate it. So what a bit of a mind-opening, mind-blowing experience it was for me that I could work in a company like the one I do work in and have people like Dave who get me and allow me to be happy working there whilst I do this other thing on the side and occasionally take a bit of annual leave to work on a show or something.
Sure. You mentioned you thought you would hate full-time employment, so obviously there would have been some
we so often do
self-beliefs surrounding that.
And experiences that proved it. Do you know? Yeah. Like a lot of actors, I ended up working at a call centre that sold wine. You know?
Yeah.
You know?
It sounds like a cool job on one level.
Well, they would hire it. Well, you could drink of that, which is great. You know, and then you're surrounded by actors, darling, who love to have a bit of a wine.
Yeah, but that job, I think, allowed them to go off, shoot to castings. There was flexibility.
Yeah, because you know about it as well.
Hey, I've got a casting at 2:00. I know I started at 1:00.
And they said they would let you go. They said that they'd be fine with it. In truth, they were a little bit like, really?
Yeah.
But no, a lot of people did because they gave them some kind of fixed income. So, okay, you and I talk about acting, but I think it relates to a lot of people who have a couple of things on the go, interests or hobbies or passions that they can actually monetize, and sometimes wish they could push to that next level.
Sometimes a job, you're doing it purely for, as we say, bottom line, to pay the bills, to have a steady income, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes there's a misalignment where you actually don't like your job because it's boredom. It doesn't fulfill you on all those other levels, those creative levels. So say you're going to a job that you don't really like, so you're not really utilizing all of your capacity. But then you go home and you spend all your time on your computer because you're into computer or web development or whatever, and that's your real passion. But you haven't made that leap into that world of, hey, I'm not in that particular job for whatever reason. I'm just using that as an example, right? Well,
hang on. So let's just clarify what we're talking about is in itself a pre-programmed idea, which is you should do what you love. And you should monetize.
You should live,
and the pre-programmed idea that all the career guidance counselors told us go along the lines of sort of silly little sayings like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. You know, contrite bullshit like that.
Sure.
And when in fact you can do what you love and work fucking hard at it. You know? And it can be hard. But if you stick to that line of thought, it's that person who has the hobby, the passion, the expertise, and wants to monetize.
Yeah, I think what I'm coming from, the perspective is there's this fear to lose that steady job because you're not quite sure if you're going to, there's this belief that you may not make it in your passion, or I won't get paid as a writer, for instance, or I've always really wanted to do comedy, but how do I make a living out of that? Right, because I mean,
do we need Edamon back on the show?
yeah,
comedian.
Well, because he has a full-time job, doesn't he? And he does the comedian thing on the side. So there's nothing wrong with having that kind of balance where you kind of invested in your passions and still have a steady full-time job to support that. But I think the sort of the definition is kind of going into complete freelance mode where that's your sole way of providing income. That's what you're doing almost in a full-time capacity. So yeah, we're going to go through the freelance pros and cons and sort of paint a better picture, because I'm calling this sort of episode Living in Freelance Fantasy, because it's that whole fantasizing what it's like. You're always kind of looking at the other side. If you're in full-time employment and you've fantasized about what it would be like to become that travel writer and travel the world and go to exotic locations and, say, be a digital nomad, it can be very, very alluring, and you can be enamored by it and you can dream about it, but there's some practical steps, obviously, before you take that leap and start doing that. So, as an example,
why don't you rattle off some of the pros and cons as you see it? Because I've got a big, hairy, deep question for you. And I haven't asked you before the show, so brace yourself.
Oh,
yeah, okay. But rattle off the pros and cons. Don't live in fear.
Yeah. Practice what you preach. Okay. So here are some of the pros, and this is a combination of my own experience and what I've researched. So you have flexibility, right? Flexibility. So you're not in a structured sort of 9 to 5 or whatever traditional state of work environment. You may have more time off. You may be able to work in days off that you would normally have to be at a particular time and place at your job.
Yeah, that's a great pro of being a freelancer.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Flexibility
of time. And one thing is you can perhaps go to the gym at any time or pick up the kids from school at any time. You're not at work, right?
Yeah, so live life on your terms.
You live life, yeah. Coffee at 10 a.m, catch-ups kind of thing.
Yeah. The only trouble with that is you have to have other people who are also flexible to catch up with.
Well, this is true. We're going to go into that as well, because you can often feel very isolated.
Oh, that's in the cons list. Sorry,
it's in the cons.
Jumping the gun.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead. You can avoid the long commute, right? Okay, so if you're working from home, you can sort of...
unless you're a freelancer that has to go across town like a computer tech freelancer and he's got to go and turn up in Avondale or somewhere hideous like that.
Sure, but if you're...
I'm kidding, Avondale. We're in Avondale right now.
But you're not going to the same place at the same time every morning or every...
No, but I get it. It could potentially be something where you work from home.
Yeah, or you could say, hey, I'm not going to sit in peak hour traffic. I can dictate what time I'm going to do that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, hey, these are the pros, remember?
Oh, yeah. They're great. Great pros.
No office politics, right?
Yeah. Oh, people hate that stuff.
Yeah. You don't have to buy into that drama. If you
land in the wrong office, oh my God. Yeah. It's like being in the wrong year group at school. You know?
Yeah, and you've got to deal with that and navigate
and
that.
Everyone's an asshole.
Day in, day out. And so you're stuck in that environment. Okay.
Yeah.
Spend more time with family and loved ones, right? You, if you're always away at work, you can actually schedule time to do that, because you're living your life on your terms. You're the boss. Mm-hmm. You direct your business. Because you have sole control. If you're working under a boss or under a company, you don't maybe have that. What do you call it?
Boss.
Because you're the boss.
You're the boss.
You have that control.
Yeah, I get that.
Creative freedom to do what you want to do. So that sort of ties in with that as well. You keep all the profits. Once again, control over who you work with. So there's a professional freedom going on, right? So those are some of the sort of ones. Realizing a dream of making money from your passion.
Well, that's got to be the most important, right?
Yeah. So you're
Which
doing
is
something you love.
hopefully living out that phrase of, never working a day in your life because you do what you love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's sort of just an overview of sort of the main things that are the advantage of being in the freelance world. Yeah.
I can't imagine there's any cons.
No,
that just sounds too good.
Yeah.
That's why everyone wants it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Because we love opposites. If it's like two sides of the coin. We're always looking at the advantages.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm single, right? And we look at the advantages of being in a relationship. Or you may be in a relationship and going, oh, I wish I was single. So you're always kind of doing that. It's kind of a human thing to do. So some of the cons are, and this is a big one, income and workload can be inconsistent and not stable. So you're no longer getting that stability of income. So, and I've experienced this, your income will fluctuate from month to month. We call it this feast or famine cycle, which I'm sure every actor can appreciate.
Definitely.
And I mean, I've got friends that are freelancers and they say exactly the same thing. And then you're kind of always in that hustle mode because you've got to create the work. Where's that next client coming from? Where's that next contract coming from?
And there's an issue there too with how you identify what you are. Because if you attach too much of your ego to the idea of I am XYZ freelancer and I can't do anything else, then you won't be. We'll just use the example of actors because we know them.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't be the actor who goes and paints a house,
right? Or
goes and works at the call center for a period of time, or has a side hustle that's legal. Because you've attached this whole thing of, well, this is what I do, and I'm a very good actor, and possibly you are.
Well,
but now I'm going to put myself into financial destitution.
Yeah,
and if you're in a relationship or you've got a couple of kids, that's really irresponsible because those little humans, they need a mummy or a daddy who's actually going to provide.
Sure.
And some people just won't try any harder beyond. Like Will was a great example. He could never.
Sit still. Yeah.
Sit still.
Yeah.
He was saying he always had to turn his hands to something.
Yeah,
I've seen him do so many interesting and different things in between amazing acting gigs.
Yeah. I mean, because you've got to survive, right?
Yeah.
But it's a funny one. It depends on the individual as well and how committed and focused you are. I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger in a famous speech said there was no plan B.
Oh, there's that thing. I hate that video. I hate it. No, I do because I wanted that too. Oh, to be no plan B.
Yeah.
Will Smith is part of that video series that goes around.
Oh, okay.
And he's talking about how he grew up and it gets mixed in with how his father taught him how to put bricks together and make a wall and do all that sort of stuff and paving and so forth. Yeah. And he learned what he didn't want to do and I only focus on plan A because if I have a plan B, that's taking away focus from plan A. Okay, cool. Well, you live in a country. He does. He lives in a country where huge amount of fame is potential and even just a few little acting jobs can sustain a person for years.
Yeah. But he did move from Austria, remember?
So I've moved to Will Smith. So I think that's cool. But the reality from my perspective, and I don't view, and screw anyone who tells me this is a limiting belief, but the reality from my perspective is some people are just genuinely very fortunate and not even necessarily very talented, and they get work, and I don't begrudge them of that. But also I accept and acknowledge that there are people who miss opportunities sometimes and are very good at what they do. And I've seen them do work that's incredible, but they're not necessarily in paid work. And you go, they're waiting for their moment, and they're always putting themselves out there ready and doing all the best that they can. And their journey might be a little bit more humble.
Oh yeah.
Would you decline or refuse that person to have the ability to pay their bills and feed themselves? No. So they need a plan B because they're a good person too, and they need to sustain themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it does. Obviously, it comes down to each individual, right, and circumstances and all the different nuances of that. And there's different levels of success. So if you're if you're earning a living as a freelancer and you're getting, as we said before, you're like a working actor, then that's a level of success. You don't have to be famous
surviving.
And that's the other thing, is that you have to start sacrificing things if you do, because you might be, let's just say you're on a really good salary, but you're just overstressed. You know that's not what you want to do. And you jump ship and you become a freelancer. You might have to have a huge pay grade and sacrifice where you live and sacrifice all those things, but it opens you up to doing what you really want to do, and you have that flexibility and time off, etc., etc. So thought I'd just bring that up. So that's why it can be a challenging thing.
Are you talking about the benefit of being employed now?
I'm talking about...
Oh, no, because we're going to do the cons of freelance.
Yeah. Which we start off with inconsistent income. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's us back on track.
But one of the things is you maybe having to sacrifice certain things from a very good paid job, which we'll go into with the employee pros and cons as well.
Yeah, like I mean, if you have a company car, and you get used to
work
driving around it, and then you go, God, I've got to go get some. I've got to go get some shitty Volkswagen or Audi now, and I've got to.
Excuse me.
Rob loves Volkswagens and Audis, particularly Audi.
Audis, okay. Let's get that straight.
But let's say you've got to go and get that shitty Audi. You need to then accept that, right?
Yeah, that would be a downgrade, right?
Yeah, from my perspective. Maybe an upgrade from yours.
Make this into an episode of
Car Wars,
the Grand Tour or Top Gear
That's
or
right.
whatever, yeah. But getting back to the cons, so... and this is something I've struggled with, is distinguishing between work and personal time. So these boundaries of setting hours, because you always feel like there's a guilt thing going on.
You have to be on for the opportunity.
Yeah. And I remember Will saying that he didn't want to go overseas in case he missed out on a casting opportunity. And I have the same sort of, I thought to myself, it's true, you're kind of always on work time. It could be the evening and you start sort of focusing on work. And whereas when you leave your job, your office or place of work, that's it. It's family time. You have this clear, differentiation between work hours and time off. The weekends, time off. And I've really noticed that when you're in the freelance mode, you're kind of like, it's all this almost time off. You dictate those boundaries. So what happens is you can start feeling very scattered with your time.
Well, that becomes a discipline, I think.
And that's what I've said here, yeah.
Yeah. I know someone who's actually really good at that.
You're lacking work structure.
Yeah, that's
right. You
need
to implement that.
And then, of course, you're implementing a thing or a structure from a system you were avoiding.
Exactly.
Which was employment.
Because
it provided a structure. It was a 9 to 5, a 2 till 6 or something, My voice agent is really good at not responding to me after 5 p.m.
Right.
Yeah. Shout out to Sarah at Big Mouth. No, she's amazing because she runs this incredible business, and I have this tendency to forget what the time is. And after 5, I'll text her because she usually, responds by text.
Right.
And then I don't get a text back. And I go, oh, Sarah. Oh, it's after 5. Okay, I'll get that tomorrow.
Yeah. So she's implemented that clear.
She's
boundary.
aced it. She's just aced it. Yeah.
You got to do
or
that.
Or she doesn't want to talk to me.
Yeah.
But no, she's aced it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole, feeling scattered, unfocused, lacking structure. Believe it or not, you actually need it if you're self-employed. You need to construct something that works for you.
Well, this is the thing. You take the best of both worlds, right? Because if you've moved from an environment that was structured and it worked for you, you better make sure that...
Some people like that. They need that routine.
That you can self-implement it. Yeah. Or you could just be flopping around losing money.
Yeah.
As a freelancer.
As an example, I go to the gym and I'm very focused. I know exactly what I want to do. I go in there, implement it, and I'm out of there 40 minutes, 50 minutes. But then I hear of other people who spend 3 hours there, 4 hours. I'm going, what are you doing? Their energy is unfocused. They're having a coffee. They're catching up with people. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm going, what are you doing in that time?
Tell us about how you feel about people at the gym on their phones, Rob.
Well, that's another one. Yeah, I mean, if you're...
Rob hates that.
I hate that. So it's just like...
Do you want to tell us a story about someone who came through recently on the phone?
Who was on the phone?
Oh, you told me something about a person at the gym who was on the phone, and
Oh, just the whole time. Like there's
taking
more time.
selfies.
Yeah, but you're spending more time on the phone and doing all your social media stuff or whatever you're doing than actually focusing on getting the intensity, on getting the workout flow, on getting.
Come on, bro. To be fair, he or she was probably a very important influencer.
Yeah. And it's totally up to you what you do in your time. But hang on, you're in the gym, right? What are you there to do? What are you really there to do?
Yeah.
Right. And I have this no phone policy, so I don't even bring it into the gym. It doesn't even come with me.
Wow.
Yeah, which I've implemented. And it's one little thing I do as a...
Not to worry, though, because when you get Neuralinked, you'll pick up all the vibrations.
Sure.
You'll
that's
get
another
5G
topic,
or
right?
6G into the brain.
Yeah. So let's just get back to the cons. We'll finish those off. No employer benefits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be a big one.
Yeah. Tuesday coffee catch-ups is a really good one I find at work. It's a free coffee.
Oh, employee, yeah, that's...
Yeah, it's a free coffee.
Yeah, it's a free coffee.
We make some products. Sometimes we get to take some of that home.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of employer benefits, obviously.
Yeah.
Being an employer, yeah.
Being employed.
Yeah. And the other thing, the hustle to get business work clients. So there's a lot of leg work, and there can be a lot of stress because if you're going through a down period, it can be a very stressful time of trying to get work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I put in there the whole being on your own. You can get very isolated. So if you're someone that thrives in a team situation, then being a freelance, being sort of out there on your own can be a little bit scary as well.
Did you mention the whole issue of payment? Like on the 20th of the month or whatever?
Yeah. That's also like that falls under. I guess that's a con as well. Getting paid on time, getting paid from clients, chasing up payments, etc.
Yeah,
that can be a little bit difficult.
Oh yeah. And especially if you've come to rely on it. And one of the things that you've not mentioned here, probably because out of respect to people who know the topic very well, you don't want to mutilate or murder it, but it's taxes.
Oh, I'm sure I wrote that down somewhere.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just bring it up now then.
Yeah, sure.
And it's an obvious.
Yeah, because
the employer pays your taxes, and when you're freelancing, suddenly you're in a world of perhaps a learning curve would be the best way to put it, because there's a lot to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, and then once again, it falls all back on you. You're responsible for maintaining your business.
Yeah,
every facet, right? And I've noticed that sometimes if you're in a full-time position, you can go into that sort of automatic routine mode. You know what you're doing on Monday. You know what you're doing on Tuesday, etc., etc. Yeah.
I don't know why you said that. You know what you're doing on Monday. You know what you're doing on Tuesday.
It becomes
etc.
a routine.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
But if you jump into the free fall of freelance mode, and you can be, as I say, unscattered, and you, because it's tempting to go, well, I'm going to have this day off, because you can. I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to drive up north and catch up with my friends and do this, or get very sidetracked. Well, it's the reality of it.
There's another thing to that pro and con too, and it depends on the kind of work that you've got, either as a freelancer or as an employee. But the example you just gave, I can go up north and see some friends and catch up with people. It might be the complete opposite. I mean, I know someone who's freelancing in the creation of artwork, like ceramics and so forth.
Yeah.
And she's so busy all the time. She, and being a mum, it appears she never has time to do anything. Yep. And so it's actually it's the freelance trap.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're always on, you're always working, that you actually, it consumes you and you're doing even more hours. Yeah. And then you kind of reconcile it but hang on, I'm living my dream and this is what I really want to do. And maybe that's right.
But my dream is destroying me, dehydrating me.
Yeah, you fall back into the, so you come full circle and you fall back into the same traps that you were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And that's why I guess we're deconstructing it and trying to really get an understanding of the pros and cons, and are they very similar in some respects.
Don't forget the freelance bullshitter who who attaches a whole. We talk about meaning and identity.
Yeah.
To what they do, and then tells everyone how busy they are. Yeah, maybe they're not.
Yeah.
Because they need to give the impression they are. Because that's the desperate fear of if people don't seem to be successful, because busyness is associated with successfulness.
Exactly. Yes.
Then people will think, oh my gosh, he's not very good, or she's not very good. So you've got to put out an image.
Yeah. There's that saying where if someone asks you and you kind of, there's that, oh, I'm just working on that next assignment. You got to have something in the pipeline. If you don't have something going on, because you can't say that you could lie and say you've got something going on, but you could say, oh yeah, I'm working, I'm formulating these ideas and working on the next assignment. And and we've got meetings coming up, and
it's such bullshit. It is such bullshit. And what is the meeting? It's some guys that are going to get together. What should we do? I don't know.
Yeah,
let's do something.
I got nothing on. I went to the gym. That was it.
I remember once doing a promotion for a show, and we ended up getting onto a radio station. This is before.
What kind of show was this? Was it a theatre show?
Yeah, it was a theatre show, and it was doing a bit of a tour. And the person on the network radio station said, "Hey, that's really great. And what are you doing next?" And I thought to myself, "Next? Right now, I'm sitting in your studio talking about this show, and you want to know what I'm doing next?"
Yeah.
And I had nothing planned, and it dawned on me that was actually a regular question for people.
Yeah, like curious to know what you're.
So, what are you doing next?
What do you think? What you got next,
isn't this good enough for now? And I answered truthfully, which was something along the lines of not a lot, and it was just edited out.
Yeah,
of course, because that's not exciting. But there's that, because people ask that question, then you've always got to have a next.
You do.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if you didn't have to have a next? What if it would be great to go, I'm taking a rest. I'm consolidating.
Yeah.
I'm finding my center, and I'm taking a new view on the universe because it will flow to me.
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head there, because it's about balance. And you get caught on that trap of always being busy and always appearing like you're being busy, because then you're looking like you're successful, because that equates successful. Your services are in demand, and you have that status or identity attached to that, but the whole point of being freelance is that you want to get that balance, right? You want to have a healthy workload, but then also the benefit is that you're not stressed because you can take the time out. That's why you left the job in the first place. You're always working. You're looking forward to that long weekend. You're looking forward to, far out, I've got 3 months to go before I can take leave or whatever.
I would venture to say that one of the biggest driving forces to being a freelance is that lots of jobs are shit. Just lots are.
Just
lots of work environments are crap.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said to you a few times in private, I work for an incredible company. I just think so highly of everyone there. But that's a blessing, because there's been lots of places I've worked for in the past that were shit.
Yeah.
And then when you think about ever leaving a place like I work for, you go, oh no, I might land in one of those shit ones again. So you don't want to?
Sure.
But my point originally, though, is that a lot of people want to be a freelancer because their boss is an arsehole.
Yep.
And the environment they're in is awful. A lot of people can relate to that.
Toxic environment.
Because if jobs were awesome, most of the things on the pros list for being a freelancer, you go, well, why would I?
Yeah.
My job's awesome.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you just got to research the top 5 things, or even top 2 things as to why people leave jobs, and you probably hit the nail right on the head there.
Carrot and stick, and I think unfortunately a lot of it is stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, I wrote in my blog that not everyone's unhappy in their job. Some people have got amazing jobs, and
not everyone's cut out to be a freelancer.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I came around. Yeah,
full compliment to you. You do it so well, but not everyone could. Not everyone could buckle down in lean times, and a lot of people live to a predetermined set income.
Yeah,
and they couldn't cut back. Have you seen those videos that have gone around on Facebook recently? This wealthy guy in America, and it's embarrassing, I forget his name, but he started off in the wine business and he's become a billionaire. And he owns
A billionaire?
he owns sports teams and things.
Right.
Certainly a millionaire.
Yeah.
And but he's been doing the rounds on social media, inspirational videos, going, if you just cut back $30,000 a year in your job, you didn't, and you chose a cheaper car, and you had a not such an expansive house that you hardly spend any time with, most of you would be happier. Most of you would be happier if you just didn't have the strain of believing and keeping up with the Joneses as important. If you were willing to own a 12-year-old car, you know.
I mean,
and it's really something to consider.
That's what I'm talked about sacrificing things. Can you downgrade, right, and be happy?
Well, because life is so short. If you spend all of that time ambitiously and maybe painfully just pushing to pay all those bills to keep at that level so that you can live a cafe lifestyle or whatever,
and
you actually you could be very unhappy during that time, and you'd be happier to just be more relaxed and have more time.
And the trouble is that a lot of people are just they're almost trapped in that cycle and structure because they've got the big mortgage, they've got all these lifestyle
but they chose
commitments. Yeah, of course. So to leave a job and downgrade and maybe have that pay cut and there's that kind of whole thing is
settle for a house that you own rather than one you have to have a mortgage. How are you going to make
money creating artwork if you come from this huge pay that salary wage. And so that's a shift in belief, it's a shift in mindset, and you got to really want to do it. And I think a lot of people reconcile it. They go, well, I'm going to stay at this job even though it's stressful, even though it's probably affecting my health and I don't get enough time at home, but I afford this lifestyle and I can take the big trips overseas. So there's a price to pay for everything, right? And everyone's different and everyone's going to want to do what they're doing. So there's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of pre-programming there that, as we often talk about, has gone unexamined.
Yeah.
Right from childhood, you were put into a certain school, you lived in a certain suburb, so you started identifying with a certain way of life. You were around certain people that owned certain properties and cars, and they took certain trips, and and you tried to keep up with all that.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us back to that the episode we had with Jackie about the midlife crisis and reevaluating all that and going,
reassessing
holy shit,
what's
is this
important.
what I really want to do?
Yeah.
Did I really want to be in this field, be this professional, and then that's not what I wanted to do? Yeah, there's these other aspects of me that are wanting to emerge and I want to tap into and be more creative and stuff, but I'm stuck in this corporate environment, or I'm stuck in this law firm or whatever, and that's just not me anymore. So it can be a scary time. Chasing
the Joneses dragon.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's legit if those things start to emerge, and then you're going to go, well, what are you going to do about it? What, are you going to, and that's what brings me to, well, we're sort of jumping ahead, but when you make the leap, there are a lot of things to consider, and we can talk about those things. Or we should talk about the employee pros and cons.
Well, we should talk about the employee pros.
Yeah,
because a lot
employed.
of people will just go, oh, it's just shit. Well, just because I think that's what it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Let's just cover off the pros.
Yeah, let's cover off the pros. So you're full-time employed. You're an employee. So obviously stability with income, a steady paycheck, right?
Yeah,
and some people do, and I know people that live week to week. And I have this thing where, as a gauge, if you lost your job right now, if that income stream stopped, how long could you survive?
Oh my goodness, not
right,
not how long for a
Give
lot
it time
of
on it.
Yeah.
Think about the way you do it is you go, well, what's your income now, right? And how could you pay yourself that? How many weeks, months, years, whatever? And if you say I can't make it to the next week, then you're screwed. If you want to jump,
you
just got to find obviously another job or whatever. But
so many people don't even have savings at all.
Yeah.
Like when I listen to American podcasts, people talking about life decisions and moments that have changed for them. And I heard in a recent podcast, because obviously in the States they don't have the same kind of free medical assistance and care that we have in New Zealand. Arguably their medical care is better, just very, very expensive.
They all got to have medical insurance.
Whereas
right?
New Zealand has does have great medical care, but sometimes you have to wait, and it's the better thing that you don't have to wait, obviously.
Because New Zealand
but you got to pay.
It's free public healthcare, right? But in America,
I love the way you're asking me that because you're so healthy all the time. You never have had anything happen. Is there free public? Yes, bro, there is. Yeah. Shut up, Mr. Healthy. But no, seriously. In this example, the guy said, so yeah, I had to go and have the operation and my insurance didn't cover it, but I had to do it, and it ate into my savings. And I went, yeah, a lot of Kiwis don't even have savings, man.
And it's expensive.
Because we can get away with not having savings because we have a social net.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is cool. But also it's a disincentive because a lot of those savings would be stick-based motivated as carrot and stick. Yeah. You'd be like, shit, if you don't have savings, mate, you could be stuffed. So, it ate into my savings. And then it occurred to me, geez, a lot of people don't even have.
This is true, yeah. And you got to, if you jump into the freelance world and you don't have existing clients or you can't generate income straight off the bat, you need to have that time. You need backup. You need money just to survive and to get the ball rolling. So yeah, a steady paycheck. That's obviously an advantage. Discussed this earlier about team environment, supportive company, business, etc.
Well, so, do you know one of the great things about that is friends from the place you work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, I wax lyrical about this one. I've got a great South African friend at work, Andrew. All right, Andrew, if you're listening out there, my friend, I'll see you at the braai, But no, he's hilarious. I go to work just to hear him talk.
Yeah. I mean, it's important. and you've got to consider, like, I know how I operate, and I can work alone, and I appreciate my downtime. But some people recharge and get energy from social environments and couldn't think of anything worse than being on their own.
It's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
Where you get energy from if you recharge.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
In silence, that works for you.
Yeah, and I figured that out very early on when I was doing events and promos, and I would literally talk to or be engaged with hundreds, maybe thousands of people over the course of a 3-4 day event. I would be so tired by the end of it, and I needed to recharge on my own because you're just always expending this energy. Whereas some people, they get energy from it. They're like vibing, and then they'll do a big event like that and go afterwards and socialize even more. I'm going, holy crap! I'm not even got the energy for that.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
but so on the positive side, on the pros side, for working in an environment, people who make connections with their fellow team members.
Office romances.
Yeah, sure. Although I think they're clamping down on that more these days.
What? But if you relationships, the biggest...
We're not at Dick Smith anymore now, mate.
What? Dick Smith?
Yeah. Great office romance environment there.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you remember Dick Smith Electronics?
I do, yeah.
Anyway, I think you meet some great friends.
Yeah, you do. And they're totally. So I totally get that. And it can spill over your whole work environment, can also be your social network. So you have that outside, and that can be a positive thing. Structure and consistency of schedule, hours, location, etc. We talked about that. That's a pro, right? Sorry.
Well, it could be.
Pro, yeah.
Well, it's a two-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah. Because some people need structure. They need to have that to get them motivated and to work in that sort of situation or environment. Things like paid time off, obviously the employee benefits, consistent workflow, focusing on just work and not trying to find work. So the pros are basically the cons of just the opposite of the freelance world. That's you just flip it, right?
Yeah.
Steady work.
And for any of these things, these pros could all be negatives could be cons for some people.
Yeah, it's whatever side you look on.
Steady paycheck, shit. People at work, awful.
Awful, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Structure, forget it.
Wow, you got to be a freelancer.
Yeah.
And so the con.
No, look, I think probably the overarching pro would be. The overarching one is it would fall into the category of that environment suits you.
Yeah.
That structure,
Yeah.
those
I mean,
people, those whatever. It
why do
suits
you work? Why do you
Yeah.
go to work? Apart from
Or,
having to survive.
Because if it doesn't, it's a con. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Why? I mean, and it gives you meaning and purpose as well, because you're offering your skills, your talents, etc., and you're contributing as well. So there's that level.
Don't forget. I mean, anything that you ascribe meaning to is what you're attaching meaning to.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Because for those that don't like that environment, it's just this is just a waste of my life, or this does not give me meaning or purpose. Working in this paper factory is not how I identify my life. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're miserable at work, then you're not going to be productive, and then that's going to affect the whole work environment, etc. So employee satisfaction and
this
morale.
is killing my back. I have to move
important
these
for product,
boxes. I've got to move these boxes 10 times a day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
my fellow
totally.
employees got terrible body odor.
All those things, right, of the work environment.
I'm thinking of you, Andrew.
And which brings to mind Eckhart Tolle, or Tolle, depending on how you just pronounce that. If you're in a situation and you're resisting it, you either change your meaning you ascribe to it, right?
The meaning,
or you change the situation, you get out of it, and you do something else. So there's two ways of looking at that.
Yeah.
You either change your reaction, how you respond, because maybe there's that,
or you manifest a new reality.
This is true.
This is true, Vikram. This is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where did we get up to? The cons of being in full-time work.
Oh, let me just run them through for you.
Yeah.
Lack of freedom, potential boredom, lack of variety, stuck in the grind, the rat race, the commute.
Oh, the commute. I mean,
especially if you don't have a car park at the end of it. Oh,
yeah.
What a lousy work environment that would be.
I mean, how many people spend...
I think that's the case for a lot of people.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, paying for park. I mean, how much does that cost?
You know, catching the bus, yeah.
Yeah, all of that. Some people spend hours commuting to work and hours going home. And then you think of cities and populations around the world, how many people are on public transport and spend hours in their commute.
And it's a real factor too. And when depending on the kind of job you have and where it's located and how much you earn, that is all part of the equation to weigh up what you can afford where you can afford to live.
Yeah.
Now you live somewhere cheaper, but it costs more to travel.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's a mind screw for a lot of people. Just dealing with, well, now I'm out here in very, very, very South Auckland, but it's an hour and a half to get to work. Yeah, and
then you may think, well, in order to miss the traffic, got to get up at 4 a.m. and then I'm going to get there, early.
I feel like this is the episode of The Reality of Poverty.
Yeah,
Daryl,
but these are all the realities of job, right? Of getting to your job and all that sort of stuff. I was fortunate at the full-time job that I was in. It was 1.5 k's away. So it was such an easy commute. Never got stuck. But then again, I was driving all the time for the job. But that was a positive for me. It was like, wow, that's just the gas bill was nothing. It was just so easy. So just on that commute topic. Did you get through all of those?
No, I didn't.
No.
I was just waiting to pause for OSIP. Oh, OSIP. I can't get my words out. What's wrong with my face hole? Office gossip.
Oh, office gossip,
Yeah, politics, stress. That's a big one too. I mean, depending on whether or not you give a shit about other people or how you feel in that environment. But I think it's one of those things that starts at school and then it becomes an office environment or people that you work with. And if they're just dickheads, then you go, oh, I've got to go to work and see Bob again or whatever,
Yeah, and you may even hate your boss for whatever reason, and that's a lot of stress. That whole work environment can be very difficult to navigate and live with.
Someone that's not your boss, but you have to deal with them, and
who thinks they're your boss.
Maybe, or they're just difficult to work with.
Yeah.
That can really affect people. Yeah.
Interpersonal relationships.
Yeah. What else? Gosh, I think a lot of people get overworked. They have less sense of ownership of what they're doing. They feel stress. and there's lack of time, and maybe that whole thing of being stuck in a dead end job. And another one too is, but this is perception. But maybe you come from a family where your kind of job is how you're viewed and valued. And I hope that people listening to this podcast can find some sort of peace in knowing that whatever the job you've got, that doesn't, and they get to a point where that doesn't rate who you are. Because I'm so sick of people feeling that they are under pressure to be a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer.
Sure.
Because that doesn't make you happy. It's necessarily if you didn't want to.
Yeah.
If it was just family pressure.
Yeah. I mean, when I ventured off, I remember this very early on. It was exactly that, this pressure of having to be something or someone, right?
Yeah, coming from an older generation's perspective, because from their point of view, that was the only way to be happy because financial success came from a professional job.
Yeah, and I even still get that. Well, you should have become this because of this, because you'd be earning so much more, right? And I never equated that whole thing of earning a particular level of income with happiness. Yeah. And I know that money is important and it's the way life is. But yeah, that was my line of thinking. I always wanted to follow my heart and do what I was called to do and what felt right. I had a point that I was going to make about...
Well, whilst you remember that point, I've got to sort of say you live that truth really well, because anyone who follows our podcast on Instagram, on Reality Hub on Instagram, you'll see Rob going out posting from West Coast, East Coast beaches, and
West Coast.
Are they West Coast? I always get confused on which one of the coasts.
Yeah,
I mean the coasts aren't exactly, hours apart. It's not LA versus New York.
Yeah, but they're. Have you ever seen like a compass, north, south, east? West?
I've read a map. Shut up. Point is, you do see you going out posting inspirational thoughts from places in New Zealand that are quite magical, and you go out and do that, and you really live. And I think you're a good example of detaching from happiness comes from your job rather than happiness coming from your mindset and thinking, what can I do today, and what's inspirational today?
Yeah. I mean, thanks for that. And I think what you got to realize is that who you are, there's so many aspects of who you are. You're not just your job or what you do, because you can be a mother, you can be a father, you can be a brother, you can be a sister, you can be all these other different.
Well, in today's woke world, you can be all of those at once.
Not going to get into that, but you're so much more, right? So yeah, but we do. I think in Western society, we place so much emphasis on what you do, on that job title.
Yeah.
And how you make a living, because we spend so much time at work. It dominates a lot of our life.
So there's another good point, right? If you spend a shit ton of time in one location and you're hating it, and let's say 60% of your life is in that place, and another 5% of your life is traveling to it, and another 15% is sleeping.
Yep.
Right?
Wow.
There's not a lot of percentages left for personal time. Basically, the majority of your time is hating your own life.
Yeah.
If you say 60% of my life is spent at my job, then and you hate it, then that is you saying you hate 60% of your life.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous realization.
If you're in full-time employment and you're doing, it can vary, right?
And freelancing either way. Whatever your percentage of your time spent doing the activity to earn the money to live in this world.
And as Ray says in our
Ray Zahab.
Shout out to Ray on previous podcast.
I believe right now he's running across the Arctic.
I think he's preparing, doing all his videos on the preparation. Well, maybe he's doing it already.
I know he's thinking of us.
Yeah. But as he said, you get one kick at the can. You got one life.
Oh, yeah, that was a great soundbite, yeah.
And it's true. And what are you doing? Yeah, as you say, you're creating your reality every moment to moment. So if if the days are going by, the weeks are going by, and the months are going by, and you haven't done anything about it, and you're still stuck in that situation, then I hope that this helps to ignite something or give you to figure out for yourself what's going to be right or wrong for you, right?
What I figured out in my late 30s and now in my mid 40s is life is short.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your point, if you... Actually, what was your point? But if you spend a lot of time...
Yeah, if you're wasting time not doing what you want to do, then what are you doing?
Right. So, in my time in the last 10 years, I've realized life is short.
Yeah.
I wish I could give the gift to younger folk, maybe in their mid-20s, the same realization. But you don't have that realization in your mid-20s because you're invincible.
Yeah.
Actually, I hate saying trite things that other people have said, so I say it, and I got to stop saying dumb shit like that. You think you're bulletproof in your 20s. Yeah, well, maybe you do, or maybe you're not bulletproof, but you've just got more energy. Either way, in your 20s, in my experience, you don't see often people like your parents dying or close people to you succumbing to a life-threatening illness, because often that's age-related. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying you haven't had a mate when you were 17 die of something. But if you don't have a marked moment of realization that life is short in your 20s, you could spend the next 15 years fucking around with something that's a waste of time.
Yeah.
Even if it's a relationship, right? Even if it's being with someone that you really never really want to be with, and then you waste the opportunity to find the right person for you.
Yeah, and you make a really good point. And I guess saying that, if everyone's on a unique path, so sometimes they do need 10 years in the wrong relationship or the wrong job to get to that point.
Well, that's a bit cosmic.
Well, it is a bit cosmic, and I love it. Because you're denying them maybe their journey.
The journey of the soul.
And then they realize that I needed those in the universal time construct. It plays out differently.
Oh, yes. Tell me about the time construct.
Well, in terms of linear time and how we measure time.
Yeah.
Because, where was I going with this? So, maybe you need that amount of time to come to that realization, and then you reach that tipping point.
Yeah.
And where, as we've spoken before, the pain of hanging on to something outweighs the pain of actually going, okay, I surrender, I release. Yeah, but sometimes you need those nudges. You need those,
especially if you know what your heart's desire.
Yeah, you keep denying it.
Your great superpower is
keep suppressing it,
and you just take multiple hits to the ankle.
Yeah,
thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, and you play that hide and seek with the universe, and you're right. Sometimes it takes a life-changing moment, something traumatic, to really derail you, and then you go, "Holy shit! I got to reassess my life."
Yeah. And if you don't know what we're talking about, listen to The Reality of Finding Joy Within, I can't remember, Deep Pain, Vulnerability. Jacqueline Bieva.
Exactly, yeah.
That's Jackie.
And as I say, this is one size doesn't fit all, because when you go into freelance mode, you got to find out what works for you. So we can talk about the pros and cons. These are the things that have come up that are kind of... what I've found in my research are the main things that are there similar. But so
okay,
you do make that
what's
leap.
The next thing on your research?
Well, so it's if you decide to jump into the freelance mode, then it's kind of we can run through a list of things that sort of have come up.
Yeah, okay.
So
make that leap.
So you fantasized about it.
Yeah.
And maybe you're really working on that aspect. Maybe you're a photographer, your passion is photography, and you're in this job that you don't like, and you want to go freelance photography. Maybe you've got friends that have said, you're such a good photographer, and you keep getting that income of people wanting to use you, and it's just a hobby. And then you go, well, I'm going to make this my living, right?
Yeah.
So
but that's an easy transformation, that one, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, no. Screw you. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but you're not getting paid for it yet, right? So
no. But I mean to say that's like, hey, look, everyone thinks you're amazing at this. Everyone wants to see you.
Yeah, so that's a good
photos
sign.
Taken.
Yeah.
Already, people are just coming to you, and you go, screw it. I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's easy to necessarily jump from the safety of a of a job
Yeah, yeah.
to that. But
you've got a clear,
it's a clearer path.
So this is
isn't
this
it?
version of having clarity, right?
It's like everyone already knows you're a good photographer.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to manifest that and prove it to people. No, they already know.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah. So that's
a little easier.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
But then you've also got to consider, okay, now you've got to start hustling these clients. You've got to figure out your business plan, all those things, right?
Yeah,
And then, as I've said before, you've got to be disciplined in how you construct your work, right? So you're a freelance photographer, but you want to go on a 3-day venture somewhere, and you could be working on your business, whatever. Okay, so it's having that discipline.
Good point. You want to just go out and take photographs of Kiwis and with your night vision goggles on your photography,
sunsets and
get sunsets and
which is fine.
And in fact, you've got to sit down and do your tax.
Yeah, exactly. See, because it's tempting because you're freelance. There's no boss. There's no hey.
I'm just
why
gonna
didn't you
go.
turn up to work?
Yeah.
Where are you?
Yeah.
So things to consider. It can take a long time to build up a client base if you don't have existing clients, right? So you've made the leap, and you may just have one client, and you're freaking out and going, oh, I need more. I need to sustain my, to make this business grow.
That is certainly something to consider.
Yeah.
Because there is no shame in taking your passion that you're going to leap into. You can, this whole, it's all plan A, don't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Or
single-minded
because it's a distraction from
yeah.
plan A. Or as you say, just do the single-minded
because it gives you an escape route. You go, okay, well that didn't work out, so I'll try something else.
Or you're all in or nothing.
Yeah.
No, this isn't George Bush trying to figure out whether or not to attack Iran. You are with us or you are against us. Bullshit. Why don't you just do your job part-time? And do your passion part-time.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that is what you're saying.
It's what level of preparation you're at, right?
Yeah,
so if you're
ease into it.
Yeah, you can transition. And that, in my research and in my findings, that's the best way of doing it. You've got the ball rolling already. It's up and running. Okay, the transition's going to be a lot easier. So, once again, that's if you're making the leap, that's something to consider, right? We touched on this, building a solid emergency fund.
I think that's so important.
Yeah, and as I say, if you leave your job right now, how long could you survive?
How many months do you think is necessary? It's going to depend on the job.
5 years, at least. No.
Sell the house.
Yeah. Or if you've got backup, if you've got a partner that's...
you know what? It's irrelevant. It's just have a fund.
Yeah, have a fund.
That you have figured out is tailored to your needs. I mean,
exactly.
only
It's specific to you. Right.
Only you can determine what is my rent, what is my mortgage, what do I need to have per month, and how many months do I give myself before I draw the line?
Yeah.
No, back to work.
And for well-being purposes, maybe you've come out of a real stressful job and you never took any holidays. You might go, I'm taking 3 months off just to contemplate, to be me, to figure this shit out. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You come back refreshed and charged, and you've got a clearer understanding. Mental break.
Come back refreshed and recharged, and you might realize it's your motivation to be a freelancer was because you were so drained in your existing job.
Yeah.
That in fact your refreshed perspective is just get a better job.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, because it depends what drives you.
Yeah.
You might, like I say, it's the carrot and stick, and usually the stick that motivates people to be freelance. What if you just go, I'm just in the wrong work environment?
Sure. And I know people that have jumped ship, gone into freelance mode and gone, oh, that's not me, and then reverted back for whatever reason, didn't work out, they needed money, etc., etc.
And that's a learning experience. And they probably go, oh, I regret then trying freelancing. I guess that wasn't right either.
Yeah.
Well, then the only advice that seems clear in that scenario is, hey, that's okay, but just realize that what you really needed was time to think.
Yeah. You needed some time out from the routine, from the structure. From
maybe paradigm. Also you needed to try being a freelancer to know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Giving yourself that option, that flexibility. And then contra to that, I know people that have always been freelance and they try the full-time thing, and that's not them either.
Yeah, that's right.
So, there's that aspect as well. I think we mentioned this, sacrificing certain luxuries as you may be earning less to follow your passion.
That's important to get your head around that, to
you
accept
might
that.
Invest money into equipment and the things you need for the thing you're doing. So, you got to consider that if you don't have that already.
Yeah, consider if it doesn't work out whether you can sell that equipment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you might have all
that's just being realistic, isn't it? That's not being negative. No, and I resent the idea that a statement like that could be viewed as being, you're not all in then. No, that's crazy. That's like saying that getting insurance is negative thinking. Because if you're insured in case you're robbed, that's just negative thinking. That means you're going to attract getting your house robbed.
Right.
No,
it's the practical.
It's like
things.
Car insurance. Through no one's fault or yours or through sheer mistake, you might have an accident.
Yeah,
that's not negative thinking. It's just smart to be insured, and it's consideration for other people, and it means that you can release yourself of the concern of what would happen if I was in an accident and just get on with your life and move straight forward.
Because I tell you what, financial stress is real, man. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
I've navigated that and been through it, and it's I would say that and being a freelancer, one of the hardest things, and also there's also a guilt surrounding the fact that I should be working, I should be doing more, right? There's a sense of when you, say you're working at a job, when you finish, you've completed something, you can just switch off, you can catch up with your mates, go and play touch, whatever you do on that downtime. But when you're freelance, it's like, once again, those boundaries and setting that time. Right? You can feel guilty. Everyone else is at work, I'm at the beach, and I might be working a little bit on my job that I...
Well, I think another example of guilt might be everyone's now out at touch now. They're playing a game of touch in the afternoon, and it's a long summer's evening, and my mates, who I normally catch up for a game of rugby or touch with, I can't join them because I feel guilty that if I don't continue pushing hard with my freelance work, you have to accept that there may be some long hours to pull. And going back to what you said before about buying a piece of equipment or something, you may be things to purchase, and I said, well, make sure you can sell it. What that really means is make sure you have a clear path in and a clear path out. Don't go and get yourself into a huge expense and then get stuck there and go, shit, no one's going to buy this specialized piece of German equipment off me.
Had to be German, eh?
Well, it could be Audi. It could be a tractor, something like an Audi tractor.
What?
Yeah.
Wasn't that...
you're thinking of a Remuera tractor. They're also Audi, the Q7s.
Mostly German, yeah.
Oh, sure. But do you know what I mean, right? Like having a clear line of thought of, if I get into this, can I get out of this? Gives peace of mind.
Contingency plan, a well thought out plan from, sure. I mean, the more prepared,
nothing wrong with being prepared.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Ultimate responsibility rests on you, remember? So you have to deal with anything. We talked about the financial side, the taxes, etc., all the admin. You're the marketing person. You are it, no matter what you do. So if you're a photographer, back to that example, getting your clients, sitting down with them, doing the meetings, doing all the running day-to-day things that you took for granted when you just clocked in and out. Billing, taxes, actually, I did write that.
Oh, well, there you go. You did write it.
It was down there.
Yeah, it was just at the bottom. Well, it had to be mentioned earlier, I think, because it just trips people up right from the beginning. Yeah. It's symbolic of what we often do. We think of that last. Yeah,
and I bring up another point, is sometimes you, particularly I know this, and other people that work from contract to contract, often they don't pay you enough, or they feel like they can undercharge you.
What pay you less than you should get?
Yeah, less than you should get, yeah. There's that kind of, what's the word?
Well, it's being paid too little.
Yeah. No, perception. There's this perception that when you're, so you've got to have firm boundaries on that as well.
Well, then you may have to learn how to give the appropriate perception of your value.
Yeah.
That might mean because not being available at all hours. And
I bring that up because there's that connection between bringing. Sometimes there are things when you make, as I say, back to the photographer example, that was a passion of yours. You're doing these free shoots and stuff, but making that transition from going from amateur or to professional. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, at some point you got to stop staying. At some point you have to be able to say to people, "I don't do this for free anymore."
Yeah. This is what I'm doing now.
This is not just another great work experience. I now am that professional.
Yeah.
That's hard too, because people might see you as snubbing them. You go, hey, look, great opportunity for someone who needs that experience. Maybe give it to so-and-so. I understand they're starting out. But I have a lot of clients now, so I don't need that experience right now.
Yeah. So, that just came to mind as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I think
the
last
point that you made there, though, is really important. A heart versus a head decision.
Yeah.
How about it's both?
Yeah.
Right? How about
sure.
it's a both fully supported, both heart and head decision?
Yeah. Because that's why I called this the freelance fantasy. So before you quit your job, maybe it's all fantasy, it's just a dream. I want to travel the world, and as I say, I'm going to become a writer or a photographer, or I'm going to take these yoga sessions and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes there's a lot of fantasy associated with that you're living this dream lifestyle because your current mode is stressful and you hate your job, so anything opposite to that is going to be really appealing.
That's what you become infatuated with.
Yeah. But there's got to be a logical side to it as well, and a practical side. And I mean, I know people that have followed their heart and they have good intentions, but they sort of failed on the practical side element of it, sustaining that, and then they had to jump back into that safety mode of regular work, etc.
Well, yeah, and I mean, even as you say that, it seems like they failed, but that's been part of their journey. Yeah,
failure is in terms of.
It's all a perception. Failure is a perception.
Yeah, it would be a leurning curve as well, obviously, because you extract the wisdom from it. And
you go, okay, how can I do this again, but not need to jump back in so soon? What do I have to accept? What are my compromises? How can I improve this? How can I really get a bigger following or clientele?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, great chat, Rob.
Yeah, that was great.
All right.
Yeah, I'm happy that we've got out the stuff that I felt like we wanted to cover. Yeah.
See you next week, everyone.
Yeah.